Hey guys, sorry for taking so long to get around to the Cybuster. As you can tell, I got a little sidetracked. Let me try to find my bearings and let's get into the review. Hello and welcome back to another Plavo review. Today we're taking a look at something a bit different. The Super Robot Wars original generation Cybuster. Okay, starting off as always with the articulation. There's a lot to go over and I want to try something different. There's a ball joint at the head, which gets about that far either way. You can look that far up and that far down. All four of these little spikes are on upward hinges. The wings on the back are on ball joints, though they do come out if you wiggle them like that. Shoulders are on upward hinges as well as forward hinges. Shoulder armor is a separate piece to the arm. This piece can hinge out, which is technically for the transformation, but it also gets it out of the way for the upwards arm movement. Rotation at the bicep, hinge at the elbow, as well as a ball joint at the elbow, which allows for a rotation at the elbow and a full bend. And the hands, as always, are on a ball joint, though it's a much bigger ball joint than usual. Then moving on to the waist, you get a ball joint, as well as another ball joint down at the bottom, though you really don't get much movement out of this one, so you're pretty much getting all the waist rotation and forward, back, and side to side just out of the top ball joint. Then the front skirt is also on a ball joint. This hinge is for the transformation, but it does let me show it off. These are on vertical ball joints, same thing with the back skirt. This is solid, at least in this mode. And then the hips are universal joints with no fancy jointing in there for extra movement. It is just basically a peg. Instead, gets, not including that joint, decently out to the front, pretty good to the back, and actually a lot out to the side. I'm actually genuinely quite impressed by that. Then you get a rotation at the upper thigh, though because of the armor jutting up there, it doesn't get a full rotation. You get a double bend at the knee, which gets a full crunch, though the skirt does get in the way a little bit. And then the ankle is sort of a C-shaped barbell. You don't really get very much forward and back movement out of it, but you do get a really nice tilt to the side. And you're going to need to use that because this doesn't actually have a attachment point in this mode for the action base. It's kind of an oversight on Bandai's part, especially with how nice all the articulation is aside from the ankles. And getting into the accessories, let's start off with sticker sheet and, by extension, color correction. You noticed I've only used the metallic green stickers. I do plan on replacing these ones on the accessory because they look awful. But yeah, I color corrected the rest of it. And the color correction on this is actually really minimal. These do genuinely cover everything, so you don't have to paint anything if you don't want to. These little black ones go up here on the back wings across the back. These wrap around these, which, yeah, that's a little ugly, but painting it's fine. And these go here on the shoulders. Everything else is color separated. It's actually really impressive. And speaking of color separation, the pupils of these eyes on the shoulders, or the chest, I guess, are actually color separated. They're yellow plastic. You do have to paint the black, but the fact that they're separated is actually really impressive. Now let's just get the hands out of the way. You get 2 closed fists, which is nice. Then you get 2 open hands, which look amazing. Very dynamic, great for poses. And finally you get 2 holding hands, which are for holding the main accessory, I would say, of the Cybuster. It's absolutely beautiful, beautiful sword. That's the stickers I'm going to be replacing, by the way. These, yeah, they look a little rough, let's put it that way. And you just separate the hand, which is easier said than done because 3 pegs are holding it together. Just slide the sword in, close it up around it, and it holds it actually really well. And you can adjust it pretty easily because you just give it a little twist and then it becomes loose. You just twist it back into place and it gets held nice and tight. Otherwise, you get the 2 familiars with their own unique stands, which are made out of a rubbery beam saber style plastic, which I don't know why they did that. Also, these bases are really small and don't really balance them very well. Thankfully, these pegs are compatible with the included action base, so you can just put them on that, which is what I did. Which is why now these are a little bit loose on them. Then again, the joints on this feel kind of loose anyway. It'll hold up the weight of the familiar, it's just not a very satisfying movement. And yeah, these just peg on with 3mm pegs, so if you wanted to attach them on another stand, it's very easy to do so. And finally, like I just said, you do get an included action base, which is the action base forearm in clear plastic with a single solid black base. It's a very odd choice, but it doesn't look that bad when it's on your shelf, so whatever. And yeah, like I said earlier, the Cybaster doesn't actually have an attachment point in its robot mode. So if you want to put this up on the stand, you're going to have to use the included clip. Thankfully, it does have an attachment point in its alternate mode. The transformation is really easy. Just pull off the hands, poke the head down, flip out the crotch cockpit, and just sort of poke the hands in behind the crotch plate. Bend the knees forward, fold down all the toes, don't forget to flip out the back thrusters. And once you're done fiddling with it, because yeah, this is a very fiddly transformation because nothing locks in, here you have the Cybird Mode, which is a little underwhelming. Basically, you just break the knees and pull out the massive, yeah. The head doesn't really tuck away, the arms don't really tuck away, nothing really actually transforms. It doesn't look that bad, to be fair. It's just kind of silly, to be honest. I really appreciate that they decided to actually include the transformation, as little of a transformation as it is, but I'm not going to be displaying it like this. And as for a quick size comparison, yeah, I don't normally do comparisons with other kits, but in this case I kinda have to, because you don't really get the sense of scale with this. Look at the size of this thing. It's absolutely massive. And not just in terms of height, in terms of depth too, this thing is huge. Even without the pretty large wings, this thing is so much bigger than your average kit. So to wrap this review up, the Cybuster is a work of art from modern Bandai, though it also comes with the price tag of one. This thing is $70 Canadian, which is a very steep price. However, I will say, when you take into account it comes with, you know, an action base and 2 other smaller stands. Oh, and by the way, all of the metallic is undergated. Given the amount of part separation on this thing, even though it's not perfect, it's very impressive. This thing is worth the price. If you like Cybuster, you've probably already bought this, but if you were interested in getting it, whether you're a fan of Super Robot Wars or not, this thing is beautiful. Really, I only have one complaint, and that's just, it should have a specific attachment point for the included stand in the mode that most people want to display it in. It's very strange that they didn't just put like a 3 or 5mm port somewhere in the robot mode. It's a really strange choice on Bandai's part, to be honest, but you can still have it held up by the stand, again with the included clip as you're seeing now, so it's not really that big a deal. Anyway, that's all for this review. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, helps a lot. Subscribe and hit the bell for future reviews. Go follow me on Twitter for updates, and consider supporting me on Patreon so I can keep making reviews just like this one. And as always, until next time, happy building.